Well, it finally happened. The McLarens crashed, and there were some other potentially consequential outcomes from the Canadian Grand Prix. I'm Rachel, and this is my Canadian Grand Prix race rambling. Starting off, as always, with the weekend rating. I've given this a 6 out of 10. It wasn't as exciting as it could have been. Last year was a pretty exciting race because of the rain and everything, so maybe I'm a bit biased from that. But it's gorgeous. Montreal is a gorgeous track. I love watching it. Wasn't the most exciting. It's kind of an interesting circuit. Like, it can be very fun, and there has been very iconic moments, but it's also not the best track to overtake. So there's that. The other thing is that I just have to comment on, why did they move it so it's going to be the same weekend as Indy 500 next year? Why did they do that? Well, I know why they did that. They did that for sustainability reasons. So they're not going Europe, Miami, Europe, Canada, Europe. But for that, I don't understand why Miami and Canada have a gap then. It seems that, like they said, it'll only happen the same weekend as the Indy 500 every 4 or 5 years, which, like, okay. But I don't understand why it has to happen at all, especially considering the weekend before is the Canadian long weekend. It should just always be that weekend. Though I have to be honest, I am conflicted because I'm from Canada. I'm from Toronto, so this is the closest F1 race to me. I want to go so bad. I haven't gone because it's so expensive. I went to the Indy 500 this year and I had a blast. But now I'm, like, not sure which one I'd want to go to. I'd like to go to both if I could financially, but, like, I don't know. The US is definitely impacting my thoughts on that, for sure. But it's frustrating that you have to pick. And IndyCar lovers are very convinced that it's not going to be an issue for the Indy 500, and I'm less convinced. I think if this was any other race in any other year in any other situation, Indy 500 would win out. But considering the political climate and it's Canada versus the US, I think Canadians might be feeling differently. Thus, Canadians may be less likely to travel to the Indy 500. Me potentially included. I don't know. I haven't renewed my tickets yet. And even if I do, it doesn't mean I'm going. I could always sell them. I don't know. I'm probably going to renew them today and then decide later. But I don't know. I really don't know. Okay, let's move on to quali. Not much to report here. Oscar Piastri was the furthest off he's been, apparently, from pole, even though it was only like a tenth of a second. So literally not that bad. The shock is, like, Sainz not making it through, considering Albon made it through, though Carlos has had poor qualifying 2 races in a row, though this one was from the impeding from Hadjar, which is unfortunate. I mean, considering the pace Albon had, why wouldn't Sainz have that pace? They've been pretty on par since Sainz has gotten comfortable in the Williams. This was Colapinto's best qualifying this year at P12, which is not fantastic. I mean, better than Gasly, who's P20. Stroll had a poor qualifying. He made it to the race, though, so I'm happy about that as a Canadian. Just happy he was there. Hopefully everything's okay. They said it was okay, but I'm like, if you're racing up until you couldn't, for whatever reason, and you pulled out mid-weekend, I'm not sure the bar for okay is quite reasonable. Anyways, let's just move on to the race. So, George Russell won. I'm excited for him. He tends to do well. In Canada, I should have mentioned that, and him getting pole position. He got pole position in Canada last year. It's kind of interesting. I mean, in a lot of ways, Canada is a unique circuit. How often do you get it's technically a street course, but it's really a purpose-built circuit, though there are walls in a lot of areas. So I don't know, George just has something in Canada. Nice to see him convert that to the win, because last year he didn't. Max Verstappen won. Interesting that the Mercedes kept up in the heat. It was 25 degrees, so it's not that hot. But it seems last year, every time that they won, it was like Spa, it was Silverstone, which was cooler weekends, and they tended to struggle in any warmer weekends. So considering this was a quote-unquote warmer weekend, nice to see that the Mercedes did well. And it's not just George, it's actually the Mercedes, considering Kimi Antonelli got P3, which is nice for him. Overtook Piastri, almost overtook Max Verstappen, and then Max Verstappen pitted as he was being overtaken, so whatever. But nice, good podium for him. Davide Valsecchi was mentioning on the post-race that Mercedes has been managing him very well, and I just wanted to shout that out because I agree. Everybody, like a lot of people, were critical of Mercedes putting in a rookie, but I actually think it's worked out because there's no pressure. There's actually no pressure at all, like literally, and I'm not just saying that. and it's not Mercedes just saying that, there's actually no pressure. And it's kind of beneficial that the car hasn't been fantastic, because then there's legitimately no pressure. So that's nice to see. I hope that continues well. I'm excited to see what Kimi Antonelli can do. Back to Russell for a second, I just want to mention Verstappen and Red Bull have protested, and they've headed to the stewards for erratic driving under the safety car and dropping too far behind the safety car. No news on that, but I will make sure to check before we finish this off. Speaking of Verstappen, they mentioned during the race that he has a race-winning car when he's in clean air. And that's true, but it's very heavy emphasis on in the clean air. And I think that's maybe true for a lot of the cars. Maybe the Red Bull specifically. I don't know. I'm trying to think, how many overtakes have we seen from Verstappen versus other cars? I don't know. I mean, it's true. It can be a race-winning car when it's in clean air. When he's at the front, he's going to win it. But the trouble is getting to the front and staying there and actually pulling a gap too, especially if previously the McLarens were behind him. Not sure what happened to the McLarens this weekend. We will talk about the McLarens. I have a section about the McLarens, but he kind of had a weird race, Verstappen. He couldn't catch up to George Russell. His tires were falling off. He was complaining about that. Tried to call out George Russell. I mean, they're protesting, so we'll see what happens with that. But, it's strange because it's when he's behind somebody, he just can't do much. I mean, he was probably driving a little safe because of the penalty point. If he gets one more penalty point, then he will have a race ban. Then he's got a couple months before that clears out, so we'll see what happens, but I don't know. And there's also rumors that if he gets to a certain point of the season without being at X position or X points, there's an exit clause. I don't know. Very interesting situation over there. Moving down to Oscar Piastri, and again, we'll talk about the incident at the end. I have a McLaren section, so I'll talk about everything prior to the incident. And actually, I don't have anything to say. Except for if I was him, I would be mad. He was lucky. And it's a question of why wasn't the McLaren doing well here? I don't know. Maybe Canada's just Canada and everybody else things will go back to normal. I don't think anybody brought major upgrades that they didn't have in Barcelona. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next race in Austria, though. I feel like the McLarens will be fine. Leclerc, though actually, this was kind of around the time last year where the Mercedes popped off. They just did well in these next couple rounds of races. And the McLaren was still there. But the Mercedes is also there. So maybe that's happening again. I don't know. And it's just these sort of run of races. Mercedes tends to do well on, for whatever reason, McLaren doesn't. But they're all very traditional European circuits. So I don't know. Okay, moving on to Charles Leclerc. I've also added a section about Ferrari, so we will talk about that, but he started on hards, which was a good idea. Him and Lando both started on hards. Seemed like they were trying to do a one-stop when everybody else was doing a two-stop. He pit on lap 29, which was too early to do the one-stop after he already agreed. They seemingly agreed to do Plan C on the radio. Alex Jax mentioned, the F1 TV commentator mentioned, they're not arguing, which is strange. They usually argue, and then they just made him do a two-stop, which is Plan B anyways, and he was mad. I don't know. We don't know what would have happened if he would have done a one-stop. We don't. And Norris ended up doing a two-stop, and he DNF'd anyways as well. He could have been the other one-stop. So I don't know. Would have been interesting to see where that played out. It didn't hurt them. A 5 and 6 from Ferrari isn't great, but it's where they've been. So it's not a horrendous result. Speaking of that, Lewis Hamilton, he apparently had damage from hitting a groundhog, which is unfortunate. So I guess from that you'll take a P6. Nico Hülkenberg Alonso did well. Shout out Alonso, but he qualified well. Nico Hülkenberg up from P13 into P8. He's been having a good couple races. They said, what does it mean for Austria? He says it means nothing for Austria. You'll just get good results. It doesn't mean anything. You're not owed anything, which is obviously a good perspective to have because it's true. But be interesting to see. I think it's partially lucky. I mean, he did get lucky today. A couple overtakes he got because he just kind of slid by while other people were fighting each other. But we'll see. Maybe this Albert's not so horrendous. Or maybe Nico Hülkenberg is just a much better driver than any of us thought. Both things could be true. Esteban Ocon, similarly, made up a couple positions up to P9 from P15. How did he do that? I actually don't know. I wasn't paying attention to him. I didn't realize that was happening, to be honest with you. And Sainz up to P10 from P17, which gets the Williams to, spoiler alert, 55 constructors points. So that's just kind of funny. Norris, I don't really have anything else to say about anybody else. Decent races for them all, but Norris, we will talk about it. Lawson started in the pit lane, had an engine issue still. So he started in the pit lane because he started in the pit lane. He started in the pit lane because he changed the power unit, which meant he would have got a 50 place grid penalty. So he just started in the pit lane anyways. And he still had to retire because of a power unit issue, so that's kind of concerning. Alex Albon had a power unit issue as well, similar issue to what he had in Barcelona, and he DNF'd as well. So that's unfortunate, not sure what's going on there. Especially considering it's a Mercedes engine and the Mercedes won the race, so I don't know what's up with that. Okay, best driver, I've put Carlos Sainz. I'm biased to Carlos Sainz, and he made up a lot of positions, so I said he has to be the best driver. Thank you very much. Actually, I want to go back to Alex Albon quickly, to the race result. He was angry on the radio, feeling that they don't listen to him, which is interesting. I mean, at that point, he started far ahead of Carlos Sainz, and then Carlos Sainz overtook him. So something did not go correct on the strategy. I think they were trying to do a one-stop, and he was like, that's not going to work. We should have done a two-stop. And they said, okay, pit. And he said, actually, no, like, we've committed at this point. We should just do it. And then in the end, they did a two-stop. Well, no, they didn't because they didn't. But it would have been a two-stop. What's the issue there? Like, actually, what's the issue there? Because I feel like there's been a couple times Alex Albon's been irritated on the radio. And I'm not understanding why, because they tend to do quite well. So I don't know. And Williams doesn't, like, they're not typically known for having poor communication or strategy, whatever, like the Ferrari is. Maybe it is just that, like, the Williams is one to try to do a wacky strategy. Like, they've done a couple crazy one-stops, or they've basically gone the whole race without stopping until the right at the end. So they're one to just kind of try to go crazy and see what happens. So maybe Alex Albon's fed up with that, because now that they have a better car, I don't know. Okay. Ferrari. So this didn't necessarily like the race itself didn't necessitate this, but I just wanted to mention because there's been issues in the media. The Italian media apparently is unhappy with Fred Vasseur, and that's not fair because I think Fred Vasseur has done a very good job. And I think at this point it's safe to say that whatever the problem is at Ferrari, it's not a team principle issue. Though I don't think things were great under Mattia Binotto, I think it's a higher management issue. And there's also just such a culture at Ferrari that I think is, although it's probably better under Fred Vasseur, that's still crippling them because they think they're Ferrari and they're stuck in this, why haven't we won in so long? And that can become paralyzing. And I think in a way they're still stuck there. I mean, I was convinced they felt very confident at the start of the season and things did not go the way they wanted. And so I'm not sure what's wrong. Ultimately, it comes down to something in quality pace, I believe, because they've had decent races. But it's hard to do anything in a race when you've qualified poorly, and they've been qualifying poorly. And Fred Vasseur seems to think that they're getting closer to qualifying better. He mentioned that Leclerc had a purple sector in qualifying before he had to abort that lap. So I don't know. We'll see, but it's not fair to Fred Vasseur. I actually quite like Fred Vasseur, and I'm a Ferrari fan. Hamilton showed support to him. But that's to say there's still an issue in Ferrari because what was with the communication? Like, why? Because it's before, like, there's always been kind of issues at Ferrari with communication, but it seems more ramped up since Hamilton has been there, especially specifically with Hamilton and his engineer, and it hasn't cooled down. Like, obviously it's going to take some, like, there's going to be some pains as you're adjusting, but it hasn't gotten better. And there's been a continual issue of Leclerc for years now not being able to get what he wants out of the strategy of the car or out of the strategy that the team is giving him. And I'm not sure how that gets fixed at this point or where that issue is even specifically coming from. like if there's probably not one person to blame. It's just kind of an organizational issue, a cultural issue of some sort that's, I don't know, paralyzing them in some way. I hope that they can figure that out sooner than later, because the longer it goes on, the harder it is to get out of. And it's because the car has been, for a couple years now, close enough, but also far away enough that the strategy really is the issue. And so that has to get fixed somewhere, and communication has to be fixed in that. And Davide Valsecchi was very upset with Ferrari today. Unacceptable, their communication. And she just said, like, why is it even a discussion? It can be a discussion to a certain point, but at a certain point it's not productive. I don't know. And I think Leclerc, it's been like, I've said it a couple weekends ago, like it's going to be an issue for Leclerc if he doesn't find a way. I don't know. I think for a while it felt very sure that he would surely one day, but if he stays at Ferrari, I'm really losing faith in that. Okay, on to McLaren. So it finally happened that the McLarens hit each other. It wasn't kind of as sparky or as exciting as it could have been, because it wasn't like that. They didn't both crash into each other. It wasn't like weird aggressive driving between the both of them, where they both crashed into each other and took each other out. No, it was Lando Norris making a really bad mistake, going for a gap that simply was not there and didn't open up, and driving straight into the back of Oscar Piastri and ending his own race. Thankfully, Oscar Piastri was unharmed. He did a precautionary pit to make sure. He changed his tires in case one of them had punctured and they hadn't noticed yet. But because the race, that was under a safety car and the race ended under a safety car, he was fine. Yeah, if I was him, I'd be mad. This is a complicated situation, but really, like, my point of this is, like, yeah, it wasn't as sparky as we thought it maybe would have been. We all knew this was coming. But the fact that it was Lando Norris just simply making a mistake and crashing into the cool-headed Oscar Piastri, who was in the end unaffected, I think is really symbolic of the whole situation. And it's tough to talk about this because I've talked about Lando before, and I feel like I'm contributing to the problem by talking about this. And I'm also, like, critical of Lando, but also understanding of Lando, so it's a tough situation, and I don't envy him. I hope he has a sports psychologist, man. I really do, because an issue like this, and we've seen, is some sort of mentality issue. Something, he's getting into his own head. He's not thinking clearly in all situations, and he's gone to his head about qualifying. For a while, he almost got pole position a couple times in, like, 2022, 2023, more so. And he hardly did. I don't remember if he got a pole position that season, but he almost did a couple times, and then he messed up in, like, the last sector. That got in his head for a while. He kind of broke through that eventually in 2024. Then in 2024, he had the mental issue of he would start on pole and he couldn't hold it past the first lap, past the first corner even. He's kind of gotten over that. But, like, it was a thing. And now it's obviously, if you've been at a team for years and you've been the star of a team, and then a rookie comes in and catches up, and all of a sudden, a season and a half and 2 seasons in, the team's fantastic, the car is so fantastic, and he's able to capitalize on that. You're not rookie at the time, but, like, very newcomer teammate. That's going to get in your head. And the fact that it's now them two fighting for the championship, and it's Oscar Piastri in the lead, you're going to feel a way, and you're also going to feel a way about yourself, because he has all this more experience, years more of experience. Why can't he figure it out? And that's tough. And it's hard because he's obviously not a bad driver. He's just not. But when you're getting, your ability to be a good driver is also your inability to, like, your ability to be a good driver comes in with your ability to remain calm and unaffected by these things, and he obviously isn't. And so It's to put these here. Yeah, this is what it is. It's not a talent issue. It's not a pure driving issue. It really is something is not right mentally. And that's hard because, again, I'm calling it out. I'm talking about it. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. Though I feel comfortable doing this because everybody's doing it and because he knows I'm not calling him stupid. He called himself stupid, and I actually commented about that and talked about that a couple races ago. I really don't appreciate when he does that because it just comes back to bite him. There's you have to own up a mistake, and owning up to the mistake is a good thing. But I think once you actually start degrading yourself in public, that's a different thing. And obviously it was his mistake. It's a good thing he owned up to it straight away. Just said, my mistake, shouldn't have done that. I misjudged it. But when you're calling yourself stupid, you're just giving everyone ammo, and it's going to be used against you. Language and what you say to yourself is, I'm being a mental health guru now. What you say to yourself is important. What you think to yourself is important. Really how a lot of things work is you just have to say something to yourself enough times and you'll believe it. To an extent. But if you're saying, I'm stupid, I did something stupid, that's a lot worse than just saying, I made a mistake, I'll figure it out next time. I'll be better next time. Do you know what I mean? That said, I just really feel for him because this is really hard to come back from. A DNF is a DNF, and that's bad points-wise. We'll get to that in a second. But mentally, like we said, there's already been an issue of it's not been his ability to drive. It's something in his ability to, something's blocking him mentally in multiple situations. The fact that he's now made a stupid mistake, his own words, and crashed into the back of his teammate in DNF because of that. That's hard. That's hard. Because again, it's not like they were racing each other and something happened. He tried to overtake, he got it for a second, he lost it, he tried again, and he crashed into the back of his teammate. Oh. It's tough. When you're thinking of it from a McLaren perspective, this is kind of best case scenario of how this could have gone. The team principal, I'm blanking on his name right now. Mattia Binotto is stuck in my head because I said his name earlier today. Oh my God, what was his name? I have to Google it. Why can't I remember his name right now? Andrea Stella, yes. Sorry about that. Oh my God. Andrea Stella said in the post show that what happened was unacceptable because you can't be making stupid mistakes like that. But at the same time, it's not a papaya rules problem. It's not an internal team problem. Simply because he said this, it was a miscalculation. It wasn't an intentional crash. And that's the thing. It's not like he was just I'm going to take you out. He literally just made a mistake. Didn't mean to do that. Again, they're so lucky that nothing happened to Oscar Piastri. Because if I'm him, I'm already kind of mad because why are you doing that and crashing into the back of me? But thank God I was okay. If you made a stupid mistake and crashed into the back of me and took me out, I would be so angry. And again, still, I don't know if that's worse than intentionally crashing into somebody. Just having a lapse in judgment and crashing into, that's bad. So thank God he didn't take Oscar out. I don't know. Yeah, and again, the question could be, why didn't McLaren have any team orders there? I think their decisions, they've been easing away from team orders. I think they're realizing that they've just got to let it happen safely, of course. Ideally, don't crash. Sure as hell don't do it intentionally. Don't be racing your teammate like an asshole. But I don't know. Again, I think this is kind of best case for McLaren. It's worst case for Lando. It's kind of, I can't tell if it's a good thing or bad thing that there's no race next weekend, because I think it would be kind of a good thing for Lando to just like have a break. But at the same time, you kind of want to get back and just like do it again to like get over it. I don't know. At least it's not like the summer break. Okay. The more I think about it, the worse I feel for Lando, because he just fully like went for something that wasn't there. I don't know. Okay. Driver standings. Now over 20 points. Sorry. 30 points. No, sorry, yeah, 20 points. I didn't do math in university. It's been a long time. 20 points, 22 points between Piastri and Norris. They're saying like, oh, this kind of brings Verstappen into the fight because he was P2 and then, Norris crashed down. Still, what? Yeah, 21 points between Norris and Verstappen. Not nothing, especially at this point in the season, only 10 races in, 13, 14 to go? 13? I don't know. I don't want to say what I'm thinking because I feel like I'm going to like jinx it in some way. I don't know. I think I don't get the feeling that Verstappen or the Red Bull's up there to surge. I hope I didn't just jinx it. And so for that reason, I don't think it's become a three-way battle for the lead for the championship. I think this could have, I don't think this was enough of a points issue for Lando that it's not come back. You can't come back from that. I think it could be enough of a mentality issue that Lando can't come back from it fast enough. And so in a lot of ways, this could have been kind of what wins Piastri the championship. I don't know. Okay, but so in terms of differences, Esteban Ocon has hopped Isaac Hadjar for P9 in the championship. Difference by 1 point. That could go either way. Hadjar didn't get points this weekend. Ocon did. This could change next weekend. Alonso up to P16 from P18. He had a great race, got a couple of points. Let me just double check what I'm about to say. I think he got the most points of like everybody else. Yeah, P7. Everybody else was 8, 9, 10. Everybody else being like the midfield and below. So that's nice for Alonso because he went a while without any points, and now he's at 8 points. So that's nice. Back to just the literal rookies, Bortoleto, Colapinto, and Doohan with no points. Speaking of, still no points, but Colapinto has now overtaken Doohan in the championship for P20. So exciting. I don't think that's indicative of Colapinto doing better yet. I don't know. I don't think Colapinto's doing better than Doohan would have. Okay. Team standings. A couple of changes here. Mercedes has hopped Ferrari for P2 in the championship. It's now 199 versus 183. We'll see what kind of run Mercedes can go on here. I still think this could move backwards. I think McLaren have kind of won it at this point with 374. Yeah, whatever. Haas has jumped the the Racing Bulls, for P6. Different is they're tied on points for 28 points. So, again, I expect that to change. I think if Ocon has a good weekend, whatever. If Hadjar has a good weekend, whatever. But, I honestly... No, I think Haas will end up above the Racing Bulls because I think Ocon and Berriman can consistently score points. It's just Hadjar consistently scoring points. Sorry, Liam Lawson. And then despite Nico Hülkenberg having a great race, Aston Martin has jumped the Sauber for P8 in the championship. Difference is 2 points. I kind of expect that to stick. I think on average the Aston is better, and now that Alonso has woken up this season, I expect him to stay awake. And I don't know how often Nico Hülkenberg will be able to do something fantastic with the Sauber. Not just to Nico Hülkenberg, it's a diss to the Sauber. Okay, let's check if there's any updates on that incident with the safety car and George Russell. I think everything is fine. Well, I'll mention this. There was safety car infringements for Antonelli, Piastri, Ocon, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, and Stroll, though Chris Medlin doesn't expect us to change the results, so I didn't really note that before. They've noted the issue with the McLarens. It was literally Lando Norris just drove into the back of him. I don't expect anything for that except maybe a couple penalty points for Norris. I don't know. Ocon maybe might get pushed back for erratic driving with Carlos Sainz. I don't know. Let me explain what that was in case you missed it. Verstappen alleged that that George Russell harshly stopped to try to like brake check him or fake and Max overtaking him behind the safety car. I don't really expect anything to come from that. I don't know. Yeah, I think we're fine there. I was going to say I want to take this second to talk about something, except I was really interrupted by my phone running out of storage, so I deleted some old footage of this. And if anybody's even watching or still watching at this point, especially IndyCar fans, probably not. But I want to talk about that because I wanted to be able to make an IndyCar and an F1 video every race and also a like midweek race catch-up video, and I haven't been able to do the midweek race catch-up video because work has been more than I anticipated, which I'm still finding my balance with that. I'm really hoping to be able to do that. But with that said, my Sundays have been completely taken over by racing and by making videos about it, and that's not really sustainable for me. And considering the IndyCar videos don't get a lot of views at all, which understandably so, but they also kind of lean negative. The whole kind of IndyCar fandom leans negative right now, and it's hard because I'd like to make videos about it and I'd like to be part of the growth and part of the solution, but I'm not sure if I just like have the time or capacity to. So if anybody's still watching at this point, and if anybody cares about IndyCar that is watching at this point, please let me know what you think. Because right now my inclination is to just kind of stop doing those or do those less frequently. I think like my ideal goal with all of this is to turn these into live streams. I don't quite have the like resources to do that right now, but ideally this would be like a live stream I do. And so for that, like it'd be nice if I just did one live stream on the Sunday after like the F1 race, which means I wouldn't be able to catch the IndyCar race. I could also do this on the Monday, but then I'm kind of late on both of those things, and there's no guarantee I ever finish work at a certain time. And even then when I do finish work, I kind of would like a breather. So I don't know. I think ideally what it looks like right now is once I kind of get work figured out and my routine, which I'm actively working towards getting a better routine with everything. If I do a F1 video post-race, if I then, I don't know, maybe I just add on IndyCar to the end of this, do a short segment, I don't know. Maybe I do that midweek race video and I'll mention IndyCar in that, and it'll just be racing news update and I tell you my thoughts about everything. This is kind of also like triggered because I didn't get my Indy 500 quali video out, and then I was like late to do the Indy 500 video because of my travels, and then I filmed that, and then the audio, there was no audio. Oh my god, there was no audio. It made me so angry. But I don't know, just wanted to put that out there because I've been saying I wanted to do a lot of things that I haven't, and I wanted to explain why and explain that I might be changing what I am doing. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm grateful for all of you here. Thank you all if you've watched this far, and if you watch these videos at all. I really do appreciate it, and I really appreciate the commenters I have. You guys like actually make my day every time you comment. It really means a lot to me that people are actually like watching and not just like listening to what I have to say in the background, but like having actual responses to the things I say and showing that you are actually listening to me. I really appreciate that. I really do. And so I feel bad maybe cutting down the IndyCar videos. And it's also prompted because this race starts at 8 p.m. for me. I literally can't make a video today. My sister has her dance recital tomorrow. Like I can't make a video tomorrow either. So, and I still haven't talked about the Indy 500. Whatever. Speaking of, I'm going to end this, edit it, eat some dinner, watch the IndyCar race, and we'll see what happens. But thank you for listening. If you're listening to this and you'd like to watch it, this is available on YouTube. If you're watching and you'd like to listen, this is available on all podcasting platforms. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, comment, follow, rate, share, all of the things, and I will see you, I'm actually not sure when, because there's no race next weekend, but there is an IndyCar race. We'll see what happens. Okay, bye.